And welcome everybody to the Clay County Attorney Candidate Forum this evening. I'm glad that we didn't get enough chairs out so I could actually say we have standing room only in here tonight. So we got about 4 people still standing in the back of the room, but we were grabbing some chairs out of the back and so everybody have a place to sit. But it is a full council chambers tonight, and that is fantastic. What that shows is people are interested in local politics here in Clay County, and I think that's a great sign. Heck, we even brought my podcast partner, TJ Murphy, out tonight, and we can never get him to one of these things. So,
Spencer's best podcast.
There you go. So TJ's here tonight. We got a full house. It's great to have everybody here. And I want to welcome everybody in our live audience here in council chambers tonight at Spencer City Hall, as well as those watching and listening at home. My name is Randy Cothran. I'm the managing editor of the Spencer Reporter here in town. And joining me on our media panel here this evening is Corey Hargeth, news director with the Spencer Radio Group, who's behind the podium and running the timer for the candidates tonight. And Celia Brocker, our staff writer from the Spencer Reporter, sitting up here on the panel. Now allow me to introduce you to our 2 candidates who's seeking your vote for the Clay County Attorney seat in the November 8th general election. Incumbent Travis Johnson and Ashley Herrig to my left. So please welcome them both here tonight. I think it's exciting that we have people who want to serve in this capacity and that we actually have a competitive race for the job. So thank you both for your interest. The event is being broadcast live on both KICD tonight and SMU this evening, and will be broadcast multiple times on SMU on replay between now and the elections. Replay times are Friday, September 30th at 9 p.m., Saturday, October 1st at 1 p.m., Sunday, October 2nd at 5 p.m., and then Monday, October 3rd at 10 p.m. That all on SMU Channel 2 for those who subscribe to that service. You'll have all, if you can't decide tonight, you'll have multiple chances to watch it again between now and then and make your decision. We're going to begin with 2 minutes of opening remarks. And from there, we will continue on to some media questions with an allowance of 1.5 minutes for answers per candidate. And we will rotate the order that each candidate as it goes in, so one will start, the other will finish, and then vice versa. After each question is answered, all candidates will be allowed an extra 30 seconds rebuttal should they choose to use it, depending on if they have something more that they want to add to what they had previously said. All questions asked will be applicable to both candidates in order to make it fair. And each candidate at the end will be allowed 1 minute for closing remarks at the end. Questions from the audience, of which we have many, some duplicate, so if you don't hear it exactly phrased the way you wrote it, it's because there's another similar question in there to what you had asked. Will be reviewed and asked by myself, and then pieces of paper are on the podium. I think there's a few left. You guys went through the pad pretty good. But they can be submitted to the head table, and I would ask that you will go around the side and hand them to Celia to get them over to me rather than coming up across to the middle here. But the forum will last approximately 1 hour. We'll be wrapping up about 7:30 p.m. tonight. And with that, we're going to dive into our opening remarks. And our opening remark will begin with Travis Johnson this evening.
Hey, I'd like to first off thank Spencer Reporter, thank SMU, and thank Spencer Radio Group. Time constraints are going to be an issue for me tonight, so I'm probably going to talk fast. I apologize in advance. Everybody hear me okay? All right, very good. I'm Travis Johnson. I'm the current county attorney. A little bit about me. I was born and raised on military bases all around the world. My dad was career Army. He retired in 1992, the summer before my senior year of high school. He wanted to come back home, which is Everly to him and my mother. So I got to spend my senior year at Clay Central Everly and graduated in 93 with honors. From there, I started to work at Eaton's Corporation when it was still open and running. And while there, they paid for my education at Iowa Lakes Community College, where I got an AA degree. I took that and went to Iowa State University. From Iowa State University, I went to Drake Law, where I graduated with honors, with my daughter, who I had full custody of at the time. So I've been in the office here in Clay County for 4 years. The first 2 years here, I was an assistant. The last 2 years, I've been running the office. So I hope that my office's reputation over these last 2 years will stand for itself. A saying that keeps coming up for me is the best predictor of future success is past performance. So if you look at these last 2 years, you ask the people that matter here in this community how my office has done, they're going to be very clear with you that across the board we are running on all cylinders. Things are going great. Morale is also high. I wanted to address the proverbial elephant in the room. There have been a lot of questions raised to me throughout this campaign, and I know some people have approached my opponent as well about this, and it has to do with voter affiliation. Been a lot of questions and concerns about my opponent's voter registration record leading up to this campaign. There have been a lot of varied answers coming from the other side. And I really hope that throughout tonight's debate, we do get to the bottom of that and get some straight answers. So with that, I appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thanks.
Thank you, Travis. Minute and a half goes quick, doesn't it?
It does.
2 minutes a lot quicker than you thought it did. So, all right. Ashley, please, your opening remarks.
Thank you, Randy, and to your staff for organizing this event, as well as to SMU and the Spencer Radio Group for broadcasting this forum for those who cannot be here personally present with us this evening. And thank you to everyone who showed up here and is tuning in. I am Ashley Herrig. I was born in Northwest Iowa, and I graduated from Pocahontas Area High School. I returned home to rural Iowa following graduating law school. My husband Tyler and I are raising our 2 amazing kids to be as passionate about rural life as we are. We are members of Sacred Heart Catholic Church here in town. My husband also attends First English as well. I have been a member of Pheasants Forever for nearly 16 years. I initially had my membership over in Pocahontas County and has recently transferred it here to Clay County to serve Clay County. I am running for Clay County Attorney because I was raised to believe that if a person has the opportunity and ability to serve, then they need to stand up and serve. I'm excited for you to learn more about me this evening and that I can earn your vote here in November. I believe that my abilities have extended past the courtroom. Through my experience in serving Northwest Iowa, I have learned that a county attorney is more than just a prosecutor. I have been involved in civil matters involving litigation, ordinances, draining, zoning, insurance, human resources. But I also have an extensive background in juvenile justice, mental health, and substance abuse commitments. I believe my record will stand for itself, and I hope to earn your vote on November 8th.
All right. Thank you both. There we go. First one to make the mistake, and it was me. Thank you both for the opening remarks. Our first question will be answered by Ashley Herrig, and it will come from Corey Hargett.
Thank you, Randy. Good evening, everyone. Let's start off with what might be a little bit of an easy one here for you, but what is the most challenging case that you've worked, either in your current role or past experience, and what did you learn that you think could help you if elected to this seat?
So as a prosecutor, I've had a chance to prosecute all levels of cases. I have practiced prosecuting traffic cases all the way up to A felonies. But for the past few years, my experience has been dealing with sex offenders, domestic abusers, and child abusers. I would love to use all my time talking about how important those cases are and how I've been able to get tough sentences for those offenders. But I'm not going to call those my biggest cases or my biggest wins. My biggest wins happen in juvenile court, when we're able to use the system to reunite children with parents who are successful in recovery. I've had the experience of serving on a treatment court that is approved by the Iowa judicial system that focuses on our children and reuniting them quicker with their parents, ensuring longer recovery times, and that we can close out those cases successfully, quicker, and they do not re-enter the system. That experience has taught me that you need to be good at your job and use trauma-informed care, as well as best practices in order to achieve those goals.
Thank you very much. Travis Johnson.
I would say probably one of my most challenging cases, my wife actually played a part in. For those of you who don't know, I tend to be kind of cheap with spending my own money, and my wife used to cut my own hair. And after we moved here from Story County, my old boss reached out to me about 2 years later. There was a homicide case that I'd worked on in the very beginning. Called me when I was at Dickinson County Attorney's Office and said that Story County was willing to pay me out of pocket to go down there and try that case. My wife was pregnant with our firstborn child, and I made a comment about how she looked. She was wearing an oversized sweatshirt, some Crocs, and her hair was a mess, and she's very pregnant. It didn't go over very well. And the very first trim that she tried to give me, my hair was a little bit longer than it is now, but she left 2 Vanilla Ice marks in the side of my head. And my jury trial started in 2 days. So, I mean, there's no fixing this unless I wanted to go full bald, which I didn't. Went down, I tried the homicide case. I had to incorporate that into my voir dire and into my closing argument about, hey, how much information would it take for you to convict my wife of a malicious haircut? And I use that to this day when I'm picking juries. Ultimately, in that homicide case, we did get a conviction with Glenn Allen Smith Jr. It was the second time that he'd murdered somebody. He was out of prison a short time before he murdered somebody a second time, and that was my trial. I actually drove back down there for his sentencing, and he died the day before in the prison. He had a heart attack or in the jail. A lot of legal maneuvering in that case. It was very exciting, but it was pretty challenging on how to incorporate the Vanilla Ice hairdo in that kind of a setting. So.
Anybody care for an extra 30 seconds to add to it, too? And both parties happy? Just want to remind everybody, make sure, don't make
There, I got the microphone on. That's a very good question. Mental health is at the forefront of our concerns, and it seems like every time we hear politicians talk, it's mental health this, mental health that. I've made some steps here in Clay County to kind of get the ball rolling on that. I started a committee called the Treatment Coordination Committee. We meet once a month. We've been doing that for quite a while. I have people from jail administration, from the sheriff's office, the PD, from all the area providers that come. It's usually about 15 to 20 people that are all the people that would be involved in that whole process. The Board of Supervisors are also invited and do come on occasion. We spend a lot of time trying to focus right now on getting services put into our jail while people are there on bond waiting a resolution of their criminal case. My thinking is you have a captive audience, they have a mental health issue or a substance abuse issue, why are we waiting to start treatment until the backside of the criminal case? So what we've initiated, and the Sheriff's Office has been very gracious to work with us, is getting service providers to start that service right away. So I get an evaluation done right away. If it recommends inpatient treatment, I'm able to work with the court to make a bond change to allow that person to go, maybe depending on their risk factors. They can get out of the jail and go to an inpatient treatment program, finish that program, and then come back into the jail while being put back under bond. The good thing about that is they're getting the treatment, and by the time the case is close to resolution and I get in front of the judge, I have a very clear picture on what this particular defendant's needs are that will help rehabilitate him, and in the process, help make the community a lot safer. That's something that we've been doing and working on. I'm very proud of the work. We also collaborate together on the more difficult cases and the more difficult people that we tend to see recurring in our system. So it's been great to kind of make those connections to the people in the community that see firsthand how mental health affects all of us. Thank you.
Ashley Harrod.
We are hearing so much about mental health because it's a struggle for a lot of Iowans and a lot of Americans. I'm wearing purple today because September is Recovery Month. Yet only 11% of people suffering from mental health disorders, substance use disorders, and co-occurring disorders seek treatment. And those who seek treatment are not guaranteed recovery. Because recovery is tough, especially when there's not community supports. Housing, daycare, employment, transportation, insurance. These all play into the mental health problem. Since I began being a prosecutor in the state of Iowa, we have gone from 4 statewide mental health institutions to 2. As of this week, I do not have a single qualified treatment bed that can serve juveniles that is open in the state of Iowa. As of earlier this week, there are barely any delinquent beds available for detention facilities. Cherokee has even begun sending people who are there on contract from the reservation back to South Dakota so that we can service our people in our service area. Mental health is in crisis in Iowa, but we need to understand what causes mental health and how to treat it, rather than just throwing darts at the board and mud on the wall. We need to understand that most of mental health comes from adverse child experiences. And we need to understand how we can limit those ACE scores so that way we can address mental health effectively and efficiently, and who needs to stay in their own lanes when doing so.
Very good. Any additional follow-up for either one of you?
Nope.
Okay, good on that question. All right, I have one for you. So what do you foresee as the 3 major legal challenges for the county over the next 3 to 5 years? So the major legal challenges for the county over the next 3 to 5 years, and we will start with Ashley Herrig.
You're only giving me 90 seconds to talk about 3 major issues.
Well,
So I think that the 3 top things we obviously need to focus on is 1, mental health, substance use disorder, and co-occurring issues. I think we've talked about that pretty extensively during the last question. The second issue I see arising is the limitation on exceptions to search and seizure. And that means that there are exceptions to getting search warrants. And a lot of our rural law enforcement rely on those exceptions due to staffing issues as well as the large geography that we cover. However, courts have been limiting those throughout the past couple of court rulings, and I do foresee a further limitation of those exceptions. So what that means is that through my practice working with law enforcement here in Northwest Iowa, that we need to balance those exceptions along with officer safety and the legal framework of which we can do. I think that this is done through training and communication. And the third thing I see coming in the next 3 to 5 years is human resources. The county is going to need to address human resources in terms of standardizing the hiring procedures, what's cause for termination, and making sure that we are staying above board when it comes to HR issues. HR issues are one of those things that can cost the county a lot of money if we don't do it right in terms of legal fees and payouts. And since the matters often result in expensive litigation at your expense, it's important that we can try to minimize our liabilities so we don't have to spend your hard-earned tax money because of our screw-ups.
Very good. Travis Johnson.
Again, 90 seconds isn't a very long time. Mental health, again, that's at the top of my list too. I definitely agree with that. Substance abuse addiction and how that affects all of us, that's also at the top of the list. We have something initiated. I'm not going to beat a dead horse because this has been talked about a lot lately here in Spencer and Clay County, but we are starting drug court here. We're going to be a pilot county, the first in our district to do that. Judge Sandy and I are in the process of putting that together along with some of the attorneys from Dickinson County. I think that's going to do a lot. It will reduce recidivism rates with people that go through the program, and it will save hundreds of thousands of dollars for the state in the long run. But that said, I did want to focus, I guess, third, one of the challenges is always going to be Again, I'll echo what my opponent said about changing law. We've always got to stay on top of things. That's a big part of what I do, is help train law enforcement when those law changes come. We've had a pretty proactive legislature here lately. They've done some really great things. I'd like to tip my hat to them and the Iowa County Attorneys Association. I work with them a lot too to help word new legislative changes. Some of the big changes that have come forward that affect me and my caseload. I do all the child sex abuse cases here in Clay County. I did them in Dickinson. I did some in Story. I was one of the first county attorneys to use the new law change that happened just this last July. It's Iowa Code 622.31A. It's Rape Shield, but it applies Rape Shield to depositions during the criminal process. For those of you who don't know what Rape Shield is, if you're a victim of sexual abuse, it keeps a defense attorney from asking you about prior sexual experiences unrelated to the trauma that you just suffered in front of a jury. Prior to this rule change, in depositions, I would have to sit idly by. I would throw objections, but I would lose. And defense attorneys were allowed in discovery depositions to really make my victims feel extremely uncomfortable. My hands were tied. With this code section change, I'm now allowed to stand in and protect my victims, which I did do. And I think we had the first ruling come down from a court because it was contested, because I had counties from all over the state call my office to ask for a copy of that ruling.
All right, thank you. Either one request an additional 30 seconds here, or
No, thank you.
need any more time, Travis?
No thanks.
Okay, very good. I have a question from the audience, and we have so many that I want to make sure we get some of these in for sure. The Clay County Attorney works in the courtroom, but is also responsible for supervising an office that is fast-paced and includes managing multiple employees. Please speak about your ability to manage an office with multiple employees and what experience you have in a supervisory role. And we will start with Travis Johnson on this.
Yes. Again, the best predictor of future success is going to be past performance. I've been running the office for 2 years, and I think things are going extremely well. I will tell you that all my employees appear very happy the entire time they're there. I would encourage you to reach out to any of them and ask about how I treat them in confidence. I have no doubt they're going to say that every single day they show up to work, they are treated with respect. Every single day they are appreciated. I'm consistently rewarding good behavior by telling people thanks, showing my appreciation, telling them they've done a good job. I like to do neat things around the office just to keep morale high. You know, I got my hair cut just a couple days ago, and the woman that cuts my hair also cuts the hair for the majority of the ladies in my office, and she made a comment to me that, you know, it's easy for people to say that they're happy with their boss, but when they come to me, I really get to hear everything. And Travis, your office really likes you. You must be doing something right. I will stand behind the reputation my office has garnished here just within the last 2 years, but also the years before under Christy Bussey, who did an absolutely wonderful job. We have a very solid reputation in Clay County. We're very efficient. One sure sign of efficiency in an office, a prosecutor's office, is going to be, you know, how well do they handle adversity? How stringent are they going to be in holding that line and taking the tough course? The best indicator of that is going to be jury trials. Since COVID restrictions lifted, my office has done 7 jury trials since that time. That's a lot. BV County is quite a bit bigger than us. They have more attorneys and a much wider caseload. They've tried 1 case. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what my numbers show, is 1 case. We're aggressive, we hold the line, and we do that because we all work as a team. Thank you.
Okay. Ashley Herrig.
I have been part of a fast-paced office most of my career. We handle one of the largest caseloads in the 3rd Judicial District apart from Woodbury County, and we do it effectively and efficiently. We work together as a team and take a team approach. And as part of that, I handle multiple administrative assistants. We understand that the county attorney's office is more than just prosecuting cases. We handle one of the largest juvenile justice caseloads. We also handle civil and civil commitments related to mental health and substance abuse. We have also handled a very large lawsuit civilly within that county as well here in the past couple of years, as well as general day-to-day activities that take up a lot of time in terms of the civil docket for our office. You have to make sure that your employees know what they're doing and that they're doing it well. And that comes through training and open lines of communication. I believe that I have done that by supervising multiple assistants and making sure that we have limited our liability through the county attorney's office, even though we're moving in multiple directions at once. While we might not try cases, that doesn't mean that we're not still moving cases quickly. A trial doesn't mean that you're doing things right. It means that you have cases that are the point that defense attorneys are willing to take you to court for them. We've managed to do that by working with law enforcement to ensure that the cases that we bring are good, that depositions go well, and that defense attorneys know what they're going to get if they go to trial. And so we're going to take open sentencings to the judge anyway. So I've had the experience of doing it. I look forward to running the Clay County Attorney's Office and getting in there and really seeing what we can do to make it more efficient and effective.
Travis, you care for an extra 30 seconds here?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please. Yep.
My last office, well, Dickinson County, before that was Story County. I saw firsthand how certain prosecutors in that office, we had 9 assistants and the county attorney, we'd have to meet once a week and discuss our caseload. And there was 1 or 2 attorneys throughout my tenure there that were afraid of trial. And let me tell you, their trial list was always bogged down because defense attorneys knew that they wouldn't show up. Eventually, they'd be forced to accept a plea because they were too afraid to show up to court and try the case. So getting that reputation with the defense bar ensures that you're able to take a tough position because they know you mean business and they know you won't back down.
Thank you. Ashley, you care for 30 more seconds?
No.
Okay. Very good. I would just like to remind both of our candidates after they trashed us for our short response time to that question a minute ago. The media is the one who's going to be writing this story. So keep that in mind. We're the one that come up with the rules. So don't be too harsh on us. Okay, very good. Corey Hargett.
You both have already kind of talked about your experience and such working in the attorney's office, but let's maybe expand on that a little bit and maybe look at what specifically you think from your past experience could help you succeed in this position.
And we will start with Ashley Herrig this time.
The best benefit I have to offer is that I understand that the county attorney's office is not only the chief law enforcement officer for the county, but they are the chief legal counsel for the county. It's essentially taking the county as a multi-million-dollar business, and the county attorney's office is the chief legal counsel for that multi-million-dollar business. Prosecuting cases is only a small aspect of what the county attorney's office actually does. We do a lot for the county. We advise the Board of Supervisors weekly, daily, hourly sometimes on what's going on in the status of things such as insurance issues, HR issues, drainage issues, zoning and ordinance violations. We also need to make sure that our juvenile docket is being kept up to date and that we're practicing best practices and trauma-informed care when doing those. We also need to make sure that providers are staying up to date with court reports as it relates to mental health and substance abuse commitments. And then on top of that, we had the various committees that we need to attend, such as insurance committees and whatnot for the county. In addition, I also believe that it's important to not only be a member of the county attorney's office, but to also be a member of this community and engage in outside civic organizations that better this community. We work better when we work as a whole. We work better when we stand up and say, what can I do to help? I think that as a leader and as an elected official, we need to do more of that.
Okay, very good. Travis Johnson.
Could I ask you to repeat the question very quickly? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So just looking at your experience, what do you think would be the or how do you think you could use your experience the best if you were to win this seat?
Okay. I have two things, really. First off, I will say that, I had a case in Story County that changed me as a prosecutor. It did. I told this story the one time I applied for judge position. I was a finalist. I got a little emotional. I hope I don't do that here. I was a single dad raising my daughter. She had a friend named Deshauna Green that would come over to the house for birthday parties, things of that nature. I didn't realize who her dad was. Okay, I had a jury trial where this guy that went by the nickname Black, his name was Deshaun Green, didn't put two and two together. He was found not guilty after bringing a sawed-off shotgun to a party and trying to shoot somebody. Fast forward a couple months after that not guilty verdict, it stung, I'll admit. But we got a couple controlled buys on him selling heroin within 1,000 foot of a school. We had him Loctite case. When I walked up the steps that day for sentencing on him, he was looking at, I think I was going to recommend 20 years. He was looking at a possible 40. I was on cloud nine. I was ecstatic. And all I thought about was, we got him, we got our retribution, we're putting a bad guy away, and I was as happy as I could be. I got up to the top of those stairs, and Deshauna Green came running from his group and his family and gave me a big hug and said, "Travis, what are you doing here?" And it hit me. It hit me really hard. I still went into court. I made the right recommendation. The court actually doubled that sentence for 40 years. But it really changed me as a prosecutor, because now I do respect the work that I do even more. It's not just about putting the bad guy away. There are ripple effects to the work that we do that affects everybody, not only around the defendants, but also around the victims and in the community as a whole. On a lighter note, I will say I've been coaching mock trial here in Spencer for the last 9 years, and that has a profound effect on my skill set in the courtroom. It's made me much better. I will tell you, my high school kids, if they've stuck through it all 4 years through high school and middle school, they will know the rules of evidence better than any attorney that I go up against. And that's made me a much better attorney in court, understanding and being able to apply the rules of evidence. Thank you.
Ashley, would you care for any more time?
No, thank you.
Okay. Travis, any more time?
No, thank you.
Okay. I want to bring this up just because it was brought up a minute ago in the conversation. Since starting the campaign for this office, what type, if any, volunteering have you done for Clay County? And we will start with Travis Johnson on this one.
So I guess I think the more important question would be what kind of volunteering we were doing before the campaign started. It's kind of like having a first date with somebody. It's really good to put a happy face on and dress nice and act nice. What matters is how you're going to act in the long run. But I think the question's geared more toward what we've been doing since the beginning of the campaign. We'll say I currently coach mock trial. And my wife and I do community garden. We've done that for, 9 years now. Usually it's half vegetables, half flowers, and I'll help my wife with the flowers. We pick them, and we used to set a table up in our front yard, the big sign that said, "Free, take them." And we give vases filled with flowers to anybody that passed by or drove up. It had an impact on my family. I got 4 kids now. They would sit at the window and just get so excited every time somebody came up. They would look around, wondering if they had to pay something. Sometimes they'd just take one flower, and one of the kids would yell out, "No, take the whole vase." Since that time, our garage is filled with vases from people over the years that have started just giving those to us. Since this campaign started, we've begun, we do Main Street Market. So what my wife and I decided to do is each week we would pick a local nonprofit here in the area, and 100% of the money that we made during selling those bouquets at Main Street Market went to that given nonprofit. I think by the end of it, we had close to $4,000 that we raised for the various nonprofits here in Clay County. It was very rewarding, and the best part of that was my kids getting to be a part of that process. I would take them with me to the various organizations to hand the money over and explain to them, my kids, the great things that those organizations were doing for people in the community. So all around, it was a great experience, and thanks for the question.
Yeah. Ashley Herring.
As I stated in my opening, I've been a member of Pheasants Forever for nearly 16 years. over in Pocahontas County, I was part of that committee. I had served as a secretary, a treasurer, and a general committee member. That really pushed my drive for helping our youth and our conservation projects that we have within the communities, and really to get outdoors and appreciate the age-old ritual of hunting with our families. That has something that has definitely been a passion that's been passed down from my parents, and I really do look forward to continuing that on within my family. I've also been involved in church. I was a member of the parish over in Pocahontas before marrying my husband and moving up here to Spencer, where I'm now part of the Sacred Heart Parish. I've also been a member of the Young Lawyers Division of the Iowa Bar Association, which is focused on what we can do to get more young lawyers involved. That was a great program. I was able to network with attorneys throughout the state of Iowa. I've also been part of the Rural Practice Committee with the Iowa Bar Association as well, again, focusing on getting rural attorneys into rural areas. If you don't know, we are at crisis level here in Northwest Iowa when it comes to court-appointed attorneys. Several of our lists have maybe 1 or 2 names on it, and it is desperate in terms of trying to get people to come here. However, in the last couple months, I've been lucky enough to also participate in helping Kiwanis out at the fair selling some cookies. I also helped the Clay County pork producers with their booth as well at the Chop Shop. And I also helped out at the Branding Iron for the cattlemen. I am very into ag and supporting our agricultural investment here in Clay County. And so I think it's important to give back to those communities because those farmers give so much to us.
Very good. Anybody care for any more time?
Very briefly, if that's all right.
You have 30 seconds.
Hey, she hit on a good point, though. Getting young lawyers in this area is extremely important. In coaching mock trial the last 9 years, there are many kids that have been through that program that I know are going to go to law school, are going to be attorneys. For even the ones that didn't, I know they're going to do great things. I also started a mock trial scholarship for graduating seniors that's been put to good use the last few years. Leading up to COVID, our Spencer school was the top mock trial team, the top public school mock trial team in the state. We went to finals 2 years in a row, and the year COVID hit was the best team we ever had. I have no doubt we were going to win and go to nationals. So I think instilling that appreciation for the law is definitely an important thing. Thanks.
Ashley, care for any more time?
No, thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, our next question will come from Celia Brocker.
All right, can everyone hear me this time? All right, good. I would like to know, what is one thing you think Clay County does well?
Very good. And we will start with Ashley Herring this time.
Clay County has made this place amazing for young families to return to. They have a thriving Main Street here in Spencer. We have farms that are productive out in our rural counties. And we also have it as a place where our schools are doing well and that people want to come back. And we need to continue on that path, making this a safe place for people who want to return. The one thing I appreciate about Clay County is that we really do come together when it matters. But I know that to be true of most Northwest Iowa communities. We rely on each other day in and day out for everything. I know that my house is safe when I leave because I have amazing neighbors who check in on it and who call me even when I don't ask. And I think that's the best part about living in these rural communities because we really do have each other's back.
Thank you, Ashley. Travis Johnson.
I think this is a very good question. People may not know this, but when I moved from Story County to come back home, I took a $20,000 pay cut. That was an easy decision for me because of this community. My parents grew up here. I have many cousins, more than I can count, and I honestly don't know every one of their names, if that tells you something. But it's this community. Most of us are aware of what happened with the trailer park, right? When it was in such a dire condition, the people there were living in really hard conditions. And anybody that paid attention knows exactly what I'm talking about in relation to this question. The community came together. We had community housing show up. They set up a fifth wheel trailer there with air conditioning. Some of the local churches, Nicholas Hanges and some of the others showed up to assist. Most of the service providers in our entire community all got together and rallied around that problem. A lot of those people were given new housing. If there were mental health issues, they tried to get them in touch with providers that might be able to assist with that. The police department was instrumental as well in helping to guide that entire process and make sure that those people weren't just kicked out of that bad environment and left to the wayside. We found placements for them. Some of those people even went on to buy homes. So seeing how our community responds to situations like that is exactly why I'm here. It's exactly why I want to stay here. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Travis. Care for any more time, Ashley?
No, thank you.
Very good. Travis, any more time needed?
No, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I have another audience question I'd like to ask. As Clay County Attorney, how would you make yourself available to law enforcement, the Board of Supervisors, and Clay County residents? And we will start with Travis Johnson.
I don't think availability is an issue for me. I think you can talk to law enforcement. I think that was the question as it gears toward law enforcement. Please talk to them. I answer my phone. People that don't understand, maybe don't know what the county attorney does, there could be people out there listening. Every single crime that's committed within our jurisdiction is going to come across my desk, with the exception of some city ordinances that I wouldn't deal with. But all the major crimes are going to happen and come across my desk. Those don't always happen 9 to 5, okay? We routinely get calls. I bet it's, maybe once a week, once every other week, I will have to get out of bed, crank the computer on, try to figure out what's going on with a certain case. I am constantly available. My phone is always on. My wife will attest to that too. It'll be 2 in the morning and I will panic because I don't know if my phone has enough charge because I can't miss that call. We go on vacation. I answer the call. Christy Bussey in my office, she always answers her phone as well, but since I'm the county attorney, I have kind of taken the brunt of that and asked that they contact me. And that's good for many reasons. I want officers to know that I have their back, but I also want to help guide that investigation at its inception so that I make sure that our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed, and if this becomes something very serious, when I show up to court, I have all the ammunition I could possibly have. I think that's a great question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ashley Herrick.
Availability to law enforcement is key. It is important to give the correct answers when they ask them and not at 8 o'clock the next morning. And because of this, I have made myself available to law enforcement no matter the time. Even if I'm in the hospital delivering a baby, I still answered my phone. I even went to court after having a cesarean section to make sure that my cases were being handled and that people were where they needed to be. I felt bad going 3.5 weeks early, despite the fact that my boss said he had it handled. I still wanted to make sure that things were being done and that I was helping where I needed to be. In terms of the Board of Supervisors, as I stated earlier, those questions come up more than just once a week at the meeting. In order to actually be prepared for that meeting, it takes hours beforehand to make sure you know what's going to happen at the meeting, to be able to research and make sure that that meeting runs effective and well, and that we can limit the amount of times that we need to table measures in order to go get the answers. As for Clay County citizens, you can find me just about every evening at either an event, walking my kids around the town, going to the park. We are looking forward to enrolling our children here in Spencer at Sacred Heart when they do become of school age, so you'll be able to see me in the school pickup line as well. I believe that availability to the public is key.
Very good. Thank you, Ashley. Either one require an additional 30 seconds?
Yeah, briefly.
Okay.
Availability to the public is important. My cell phone is always been readily available to anybody that wants to call. I do donuts with the DA every Friday morning, nearly every Friday morning at Carol's Bakery. And that's been kind of a hit. There have been some people that just stop in and say hi and then leave. There have been people that come with some legitimate questions and concerns. It's something I intend on continuing. Yeah, I have another story, but I don't think it's appropriate to share about. I know exactly, my wife gave me the look.
Well, that's the one we all want to hear. That's, okay.
Well,
So,
I looked
all
at
right.
her when the answer was being given. I'm going to do it, babe, I'm sorry. I got a vasectomy after our last child, okay? And unfortunately for me, the jury trial list did not coincide well, and my jury came up when I was in Dickinson County. I think there's some Dickinson County people here. So I had to show up and do a jury trial the day after I had a vasectomy. It was embarrassing. I had a big thing of ice that I had to keep in my lap. My wife warned me before I went there, you better not tell the jury about this. I'm like, I got to explain this bag of ice that's sitting in my lap for the whole day.
Travis, I hate to cut you
Thank
off,
you.
but yeah. Maybe you're glad I cut you off at that point. Yeah, I did. So, yeah. I just want to say, aside from that very personal amount of information that we just got, but I asked, my fault. I will not be answering calls at 2 in the morning. So you'll get my very pleasant voice message if you call me at 2 in the morning. All right, very good. You're up next, Corey.
Let's kind of double back to what Celia asked before. She was looking at what you think is best about Clay County, but is there something that you think if you win this seat that you could improve on?
Thank you very much, and we will start with Ashley Herrig.
Training, training, training. All of us can always be better at what we do. We can always be more efficient, more effective, and save the taxpayers money. Training. It comes down to that. Whether or not it's training for office staff in the county attorney's office to make sure that they can be able to use the case management systems tools quicker, awesome. Whether or not it's law enforcement, making sure that they are trained in community safety policing, and limiting any kind of liabilities that tend to come their way. It comes down to that. Whether or not it's the auditor's office and talking about elections or HR or insurance stuff, training. Driver's license, training. Engineer's office, training. We can always be better at what we do. End of story.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ashley. Travis Johnson.
Some ways to improve going forward. Definitely drug court, I am extremely excited. I'm not going to bore everybody with all the talk about it. If you have questions about it, please reach out to me. I would love to fill anybody in that's interested in what that program is. It's going to do good things. In addition, increasing services within our jail. Again, that's something that's in the works. We've had some difficulty finding people that can do dual diagnosis and go and do those treatments. So finding people to fill those gaps is definitely something going forward I really hope we can do. I would echo the training. I pride myself on the trainings that I have done for law enforcement since being at the county attorney's office. That's something I have a lot of joy doing, and I think I'm pretty diligent about doing that. I've done a lot of trainings. We just did a wet lab here. I don't know how many months ago it was, but we did it in this very room. For those of you who don't know what a wet lab is, I put it together with some of the officers that were really good at operating while intoxicated cases. We had people from the public that would come in, controlled setting. We would have them drink a specific amount of alcohol, and then officers would all go through and test their skills with field sobriety testing and measure what they would score them at. Mr. Westfall back there, I think all three of the people that he tested, just by looking at their eyes, he guessed their BACs, like 0.085, and he was always within 0.001 or 2 of what the actual answer was. So hats off to Lieutenant Westfall and all the others. But doing trainings like that make them better, makes the cases stronger, makes the entire system work a lot better.
Very good. Ashley Herrig. I'm sorry. Yep. No rebuttal. Okay. Travis, any additional from you, or are you good?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. Very good. Celia Brocker.
So we talked a little bit about things you would like to see change or improve in Clay County. I was wondering if there's any specific programs or policies you would like to see implemented to reduce crime and increase public safety.
Okay, we'll start with Travis Johnson on this one.
So I guess this is kind of teeing it up for drug court. This is teeing it up for what I've been talking about with drug court and when that gets installed. It is going to happen. It'll be up and running, I would imagine, by early January. It's been months and months and months in the process. Right now, we have a deficiency in our probations. Okay, the probation officers are overworked. Sometimes their caseload is 50 or 60 deep, and some of these people really struggle with methamphetamine addiction, especially, that spirals into other crimes as well. So it's not just the addiction that's a worry for public safety. It's all the crime that spirals out of control because of that addiction. So when someone's placed on probation right now, you might be surprised to know that even our most heightened probation for people suffering from methamphetamine addiction, they might meet their probation officer once a month, it's scheduled, and they might get a drug test when they show up at that time. Okay, methamphetamine gets out of your system in 2 to 3 days. What kind of an incentive is that for somebody to stop that addiction and curb it when that's the kind of probation that's being pushed upon them? With drug court, we will have a probation officer that's set. His or her caseload is going to be 30 at max, I think 15 between Clay County and 15 in Dickinson. They will meet with that probation officer at least once a week. There will be a drug test, more likely than not every single week. And then every other week they will meet with a community committee of people that Judge Sandy and myself will pick to help that person into the sobriety. We'll have people from the community that can help put them in touch with jobs. We'll have people in that committee that will talk to them about mental health treatment, make sure they're doing it, do med management, and substance abuse treatment. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Ashley Herring.
Recidivism is a problem in our justice system, but mental health is just part of the piece of why it's a problem. We have mental health issues, substance abuse issues, and ever increasingly co-occurring disorders. What do I mean by co-occurring disorder? It's both mental health and substance abuse, intertwined in a way that you need to treat both. It's really a chicken and egg. But within that, we also have trauma, poverty, lack of family supports, lack of community supports, lack of education, transportation, housing, daycare, and employment. These are all issues that create recidivism. There is no golden ticket in order to help someone to stop committing crimes. In my experience, I have been part of a successful treatment court. Why is it successful? Because we are fully funded by the state. We have best practice standards that we must adhere to and be accredited to. We are all trauma-informed and provide trauma-informed care. We also know that as part of best practice standards, and the reason that we need to be fully funded is drug courts are only successful when you drug test twice a week. They are only successful when you have a coordinator who is overseeing that. There's a lot going on, but there's just pieces of the puzzle out there that we need to put together.
Very good. Travis, you here for another 30 seconds?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please. Recidivism, that is important. For those of you that don't know, recidivism basically means how likely is someone to continue in that bad behavior and recommit a new crime. Statistics on that related to drug court and prison. Somebody doing a prison sentence, when they get out, 30% of those people won't reoffend. 30%. Okay, that means 70% of those people are going to commit more crimes after they get out. People that have been through the drug treatment program, like the one we're going to install here in Clay County, it's a 75% success rate for people that successfully go through that program. That's amazing. In addition to that, the cost, a 14-month prison sentence costs Iowa taxpayers $51,000 and change, 14 months. To do the drug program for those same people, it's about $6,000.
Very good. Anybody need more time? You good now?
No, thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, I have one more question before we get to closing remarks, and I apologize to our media panel. I'm sure they've got more. I know I've got a list here. Just a heads up, and I'm sure Corey will have excerpts from this on the air, and I know the paper is going to have additional questions that they did not answer here tonight in the Friday edition, if you'd like to look at those. So, but I do want to get to one more audience question, and it was one I got multiple times, so I want to ask it. What does your political affiliation have to do with how you run the office? And we'll start with Ashley Herrig.
Prosecutorial discretion. It is the gray area that we practice in as prosecutors. It is the area where we have to use our faith, our value, and our morals to determine what to do and why we're doing it. Prosecutorial discretion. So often our faith, values, and morals align with what our political values are. And while many want to say that the office should not be partisan, by law it is. By law, we are having elections and declare parties for this position. If it wasn't supposed to be partisan, the law would allow the board to appoint. Nothing further.
Very good, thank you. Travis Johnson.
First off, the law does allow for appointment. That's how I got the job. That's how Christy Bussey got the job. That's how Mike Houchins got the job. And I believe that's how Mike Zener also got the job here in Clay County. Appointments do happen. And as it relates to what our politics should do within the office, I vehemently disagree. Okay, yes, it has a lot to deal with the campaign, for sure. But as it relates to how you run the office, you know, we have this thing called our Code of Ethics as prosecutors, okay? Iowa County Attorneys Association Prosecutorial Standards, Standard 1.1, Sub C. The duties of the County Attorney's Office shall be conducted in a professional and nonpartisan manner. I've done a lot to try to keep politics out of this. When I talk to the Democrats in their annual fundraiser they do, I was one of the keynote speakers. Didn't think I was worthy of that, but you know what, one of the main things I told them, the big thrust of my argument, I don't want your vote because I'm a Democrat. I want your vote because you think I'm the best candidate to run this office. Thank you.
Ashley, any additional remarks?
No.
Okay, very good. With that, at this time, we'd like to allow our candidates a minute to offer a final opportunity to make their case for your vote ahead of the November general election, and we will start with Travis Johnson.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief. Political affiliation has little to do with this job, but integrity has everything to do with this job. Integrity is being honest and doing the right thing, even when it may make life hard for you, when it may make things more difficult. I had a lot of people tell me before I took this job, and it wasn't an easy decision for me. Okay, I got 4 kids that count on my job. When I was approached about stepping in and taking this over, I knew I was a Democrat. I knew we're outnumbered here 3-1. You imagine the temptation to maybe just say, you know what, just change my voter affiliation to Republican, nobody's got to know. People that know me know that I'm a very centrist Democrat. I'm not far off on the left. But I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated. When Ms. Herrig got 125 or 105 signatures from Clay County residents, she put up here that she's a Republican when she got those signatures. Guess what? She was still a registered Democrat. She was a registered Democrat getting signatures from Clay County residents on a form here that says she's the Republican candidate. You know when she changed her registration? She changed it when she turned these forms in with her affidavit to run against me in a campaign. That same transaction at the auditor's office is when she became a Republican.
Travis, I got to cut you off here. We're out of time. So, Ashley Herrig, please.
I believe in free enterprise. I believe in low taxes. I believe that smaller, limited government is better government. I believe in the Second Amendment, and I believe that life begins at conception and supported the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I believe in God. I believe that it is not appropriate to make fun of people's religion. I support school choice, and I believe that there's man and woman. I will let the voters determine what my politics are. But I encourage you to check your voter registration status by going to sos.iowa.gov. Make sure you are registered to vote this November. If you think you're going to vote absentee, request that. Absentee ballots start on October 19th at the auditor's office and run until November 7th. On November 8th, cast your ballot at your polling place. Thank you.
All right, very good. Well, thank you, everybody. I would like to thank my media partners this evening for being part of tonight's broadcast. Of course, Corey Hargeth with the Spencer Radio Group, Celia Brocker with The Reporter, and of course the broadcast team from SMU. Like I said, there will be multiple chances between now and then to see it. Friday, September 30th at 9 p.m. on Channel 2, Saturday, October 1st at 1 p.m., Sunday, October 2nd at 5 p.m., and Monday, October 3rd at 10 p.m. So make sure you check that out. Also want to let everybody know we will have a District 6 public forum here next Wednesday night, same time, for Megan Jones and James Eliason that'll be here in this chamber. So please come back for that. We'd also like to thank all of you in the audience tonight, whether here in person or watching at home or listening on the radio. Please give yourselves a round of applause. Wouldn't you like to see the guy in his car driving down the road applauding himself for listening on the radio? But thank you for taking an active interest and role in the electoral process. Please, a round of applause for yourselves again for being part of this tonight. And of course, please recognize our candidates this evening for taking part in our public forum and for stepping up and running for the opportunity to serve as the community voices. Please, applause for them as well. Now the decision is up to you, the voters, whom these two candidates hope to have the opportunity to serve. Please remember to get out and fulfill your obligation, vote on November 8th, and make your voice heard. Be well, be healthy, God bless, and good night, everyone.